Breaking news coming this hour, Delhi High Court verdict over nursery admissions. The court has observed that further admissions will take place according to the Ganguly committee guidelines. This means that the LG's guidelines will not be followed from next year onwards. Under that Under Article 19(1)(g), there is no right to government to construct guidelines for schools. Let's get a word from our correspondent Upasana, who's with us on the phone line. Upasana, explain to us what exactly this observation means.
Till last year, we had nursery admissions under the guidelines which were issued by the LG.
Well, Upasana, I'm so sorry to cut you short. Hold that thought. I'm going to come to you. There's a reaction coming in from outside the courtroom. Let's cross live.
Had given them a fundamental right to maximum autonomy, which autonomy cannot be taken away without the authority of law by way of issuance of an office order. The authorities have to confine themselves to mere regulation of education and cannot take themselves the process of entire admissions. The office order has been quashed by the Delhi High Court, saying that it has no authority of law and it is violative of the constitution as well as the fundamental rights of the private unaided schools, which have been given maximum autonomy in the day-to-day administration of their affairs. The 2007 guidelines which were laid down by the government have been held to be good, and there was no reason as per the court to have changed these guidelines. The highlights of the 2007 guidelines were as contradistinguished with the present guidelines which were challenged, is that those guidelines merely gave broad parameters under which the school managements were to lay down their individual criteria for admission. It did not lay down a straitjacket formula as was sought to be done by way of these current guidelines. So therefore, this judgment restores the maximum autonomy which the private unaided schools have had for all these years, and it upholds the constitution, upholds the fundamental rights of the management of schools. Your good name, sir? Kamal Gupta. Thank you.
Right, our correspondent Upasana is with us. Upasana, how will this observation of the High Court be received by parents who will be seeking nursery admissions for their children next year?
Similarly, last year, the nursery admissions were done under the guidelines which were issued by the LG, wherein there was a lot of protests by the school authority, the school management, and as well as parents, because as per those guidelines, the schools had no right to take any admissions under the staff quota or the management quota, and the school management therefore had filed a petition in the court regarding the same, and they've been fighting for the same for the past 1 year, that since the private school should always have the right to take a few admissions or a few seats under the management quota. And on the other hand, the parents were not very satisfied with the LG guidelines, because there were a few guidelines which were as per the parents not in their favor, which included the neighborhood points, the sibling points, and the alumni points, and that was another reason why last year the admissions were delayed for more than 1.5 to 2 months. Now this year, from the very first day of the admissions, the management and the parents were fighting for their rights, and now the Delhi High Court has clearly said that the private schools have their own rights to decide their guidelines, and now it's a big relief to all the private schools of Delhi that they'll again be able to take admissions under the management quota and the other guidelines which come under the Ganguly committee.
All right, Upasana, thanks so much for taking us through developments. Delhi High Court allowing private schools to set up their own guidelines. We'll continue tracking developments and get reactions from parents as well.